Okay, guys, so I wanted to go over how to handicap football. Very briefly, the main points, where most people get it wrong, where most tipsters get it wrong, and even where most sharps get it wrong. So, there are consistent themes with football that we see all the time. And this is not just in the sports betting world, it's with pundits and, supposed experts on the game. And most people do the same thing, which makes sense because most people grow up watching football, they listen to these pundits, they internalize the information and they think, okay, well, that's logical, that must be true because these are experts, and they apply it to sports betting and it doesn't work. The basic principle of sports betting is you're not trying to pick winners. Obviously, we're trying to pick things that we think has got a good chance of winning, but the value, the odds that you're getting is the most important thing. This is how bookies make money, because 90% of people will bet the favourite most of the time, stick a couple of favourites in an acca. All the bookie has to do to make sure they don't make money long term is make sure that the odds are not worth the risk. So they make sure it's minus EV, negative expected value. That means if you bet that 100 times, whatever that bet is or that line, you will lose money, even though it might cash at a high hit rate. A lot of tipsters give out bets only at low odds so that they can get a very high hit rate, a lot of wins. It looks like they're winning all the time, but if you add up their profit loss, they're often losing money. And I know this because when I started betting football, I actually started off betting just the UFC, just MMA. And then I moved into betting football because I saw there was no one in the market doing it. Basically, like how other professional gamblers bet other sports. No one anyway in the tipster space. And this is one of the key things I saw. People just try to pick winners all the time. The bookie wants you to pick the most likely outcome, the favourite. So that's what most people do. So they just make sure the line isn't good value, that it's not going to make you money long term. That doesn't mean we always bet the underdog. We will take favourites when we think there's value there. The bookies aren't perfect, they will get it wrong. But there's a few things that are consistent in how people handicap football incorrectly. The first thing is too small a sample size. They'll look at teams' recent performance and then say, they're on a good run. That means they're going to continue that good run. That's not true. Good teams go on bad runs and bad teams go on good runs all the time. You need a large pool of data. If I post an analysis for a football match in here, I'll give you the team's home record and the away team's record for home and away games, because teams do play differently home and away, going back about 20 matches at least. Because if you go like 10 games, 5 games, it's too small of a sample size to get an understanding of how the teams perform. And that's a really common theme that you see with these pundits. This team are looking really good recently. You bet them and then they do really poorly, because trends, short-term trends, are not forever. They will lose. You need to have a large pool of data to base your analysis on. The second thing is a lack of head-to-head data. We saw yesterday with the US Open Cup. We hit all of our bets. We had 6 bets in total yesterday for football. They all won. 5 of those were in the US Open Cup. And I said in my analysis, I pointed out 2 teams where I thought the public had it incorrect and the bookies were hoping that they would take the favourite. And in both of those examples, the opposing team that no one was betting on, that were good value, the underdogs, had won those recent games or given them a very tough game, maybe drawn, but they had a good winning record. Now, you can have 2 teams on paper where one is a lot better than the other. They're much higher in the league. They're doing much better. They've beaten better opposition, but they consistently lose to this weaker opponent because they're a bad stylistic matchup, or because they don't take them seriously and they try and put on a weak lineup, they get behind, and because it's a bad stylistic matchup, they can't catch up. I very rarely see pundits talking about head-to-head data. They'll just say, this team's been good recently, this team's been bad recently, this is what I think based on their most recent games. How 2 teams play when they meet each other is the most important data point when you are looking at how 2 teams will match up. Obviously, it's not a hard and fast rule, like if one team always beats the other, it doesn't mean they're always going to win. Doesn't mean that at all. But it is extremely telling in how 2 teams are going to match up with each other. And that's how we won our bets yesterday. We took 3 underdogs and they all cashed for us. And they were all playing teams who everyone thinks are stronger, who everyone bet on, and they all lost. One of them went 1-0 up and lost 2-1, almost 3-1. Very, very close to being 3-1. I think that was St. Louis. But they've got a consistent good record against their opponent. So head-to-head data as well. The other thing is not looking at the split data, where the money is in the market. You saw me post the splits earlier. We saw this the other day with Bayern Munich. Everyone betting Bayern Munich at really attractive odds. it was a trap. We also saw that later in the week, yesterday, with Atletico. Really good odds, the majority of bets on them. The bookies knew both teams were likely going to lose. They wanted you to take that money. And sharps will do that as well, because sharps are playing the value in the line. But the one time that the value is false value is when you've got a public underdog, when you've got a team at very high odds and you've got loads of money bet on them. If you look out for those three things, your handicapping will be way better. You'll make a lot more money, and these are mistakes that all tipsters make. I see them doing it all the time. They all bet the same way that most of you probably bet. And most people, 97% of accounts, lose money betting, and they all bet the same way. Favourites, big hackers with a load of favourites in. You need to be playing the value. You might not have as good a hit rate. This is the thing that most people can't stand. But the way you make money is taking value. That one or two big underdogs that you hit will make you a ton of profit. So start looking at underdogs. Start looking at teams who, maybe they're close. Maybe it's hard to pick them between each other, who's the better team. But have a look at the head-to-head data. If one is consistently beating the other, that's probably the best play. Obviously, you want to look at a load of things like home and away stats. Are they good at home? Are they good at away? What's their lineup saying? How have they been performing over the last 20-odd games? How do they perform against each other? All these things. You want to put all the analysis in together, the splits as well. And when you get everything pointing in the same direction, that's when you make your play.